Hey guys, it's Matt with Doug Andrus Distributing. Today we're going to be talking about things to carry with you on the road. Just tips, a lot of this stuff is not required, but it'll make your life a lot easier. So we're gonna just kind of go down the list, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is you should carry and why it would be helpful and in what situations you might find it helpful. So I'm just going to start off tools. I would highly recommend that you carry a toolkit with you. I don't expect you to be a mechanic and have the ability to overhaul an engine, but I would recommend that you have, maybe a set of wrenches, some pliers, some screwdrivers, kind of the basic tools. And I recommend this because there are times where you'll have a problem and it's something that's actually fairly easy to fix that we could help you with over the phone. So even if you've never fixed a particular problem before, we can always try and walk you through it over the phone. And if you have the tools, then you can actually do it. Get yourself on the road faster. I would also recommend carrying extra fuses, 5, 10, 15, 30 amp fuses. These are helpful just, occasionally fuses blow. I've had to replace fuses for headlights, interior lights, 12-volt outlet, and if you have that stuff and you know where your fuse panel is, it's really not a big issue to just pop it open, see which fuse block goes to what you think is not working, pop it out, check the fuse. If it's the fuse, then you pop a new one in, you're ready to roll. So generally on the fuse panel, most of those fuses they're in 5 amp increments. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 amp fuses. And I would recommend carrying a few of each just because different circuits require different amperages. Definitely bring a hammer. That's particularly useful in the wintertime. If your truck sits or the trailer sits for a while, when you go to release the brakes, sometimes the brake shoes get sticky and they'll still stick to the brake drum. Really, the most effective way to break those loose is to get back there, take a hammer, and beat on the brake drum. And then that will shock the brake shoe and allow it to break free so that you can then roll down the road. Another tool that might be helpful is an air pressure gauge. A lot of our trucks nowadays have halo system, which is an onboard airing system for the truck, but I would say it's still a good idea to get in the habit of keeping that with you if for some reason you ever suspect that the halo is not working correctly, a tire looks low, something like that. You have the ability to check it before it becomes a larger problem. One other thing is also make sure you have things like flashlight. That's really handy. Trucking's not just during the day, and so I would carry a headlamp because that would be really helpful if I was trying to do something and I needed both my hands. I would also recommend just some things in the truck, things like duct tape, for just minor repairs, things like that. Be sure and bring some extra batteries because you never know. A lot of times I would find that my flashlight, I wouldn't use it for a while. And then when I went to go use it again, it would be really weak or dead. And I was glad that I had packed extra batteries so I could still use that. I would highly recommend jumper cables, especially in the wintertime, and especially for our reefer fleet. So a lot of times jumper cables will come in handy, not only if your truck has low batteries, but a lot of times you'll go and grab a trailer, and if the trailer's been sitting for a while, the reefer unit, the battery in that, might be fairly low and have a hard time starting. If you have jumper cables, you can just jump from your truck to that battery and a 15-20 minute inconvenience rather than having to call somebody out, get them out there in the middle of the night, which is usually when that stuff happens, and having to wait several hours to get that going. Some of the other things that you might want to take with you is like ratcheting straps. In every fleet, I would always carry at least one, just because you never know when it might be helpful. I've seen all sorts of things from somebody getting hit and they have to use a ratcheting strap to keep a fender off a tire, to just the load, it just needs an extra ratcheting strap just to keep things secure. We provide those. You can get a ratcheting strap from us, and that's a super helpful thing that you might be able to use. Some of the things that you might want to pack with you, just kind of handy things. Something I carried with me were baby wipes. There's occasionally times where you get a few days in between a shower and you just want to freshen up a little bit. A baby wipe, you can wipe yourself down and that'll at least help. It's not quite a shower, but in a pinch, it works. Toilet paper is another big one. You never know. Occasionally you'll get caught somewhere where you just don't have access to the facilities you're used to, and you definitely don't want to be caught short. So toilet paper is an excellent thing to bring along with you. Another thing for a lot of us, we have some kind of prescription medication. You want to make sure that you have enough on hand so that if you get delayed and don't get home when you think you will, you are still covered and have that medication. So, just kind of a tip, keep that on hand. I also would bring ibuprofen, maybe some cold medicine, some cough drops, just kind of general stuff, so that as you're out on the road, if you get a touch of something, you have that medication to help you feel better. Another one's drinking water. Make sure you have plenty of food and water. Especially in the wintertime. I mean, things are unpredictable. They may shut the roads down, and where they shut it down, there may not be facilities. It may just be a parking area that the DOT says, sorry, you can't go any farther. You're just going to have to park here. As long as you have plenty of food and water and you have a good amount of diesel, it's just annoying to have to sit there and wait, but you're not gonna run out of essential things. So definitely bring drinking water. And in fact, I was reading DOT actually recommends that you bring enough for 3 days, which is somewhere between 2 and 3 gallons of water. Definitely make sure you have a good amount of that. One other thing that, again, the company provides that you'll want to make sure that you have in your truck is extra fluids for your truck. And when I say fluids, I'm talking about oil, washer fluid, coolant. Do things like the spray wash, window wash, things like that. In the wintertime, you definitely want to make sure you have at least 4 bottles of the diesel additive to lower the freeze point on diesel. That's one that you definitely want to make sure you have enough of. As well as all the others I mentioned, oil and coolant especially. I would recommend that you carry extra warm clothes, especially, I always made it a rule of thumb, anytime chains were required, so from September 1st to May 31st, I always had at least one set of warm winter clothing because you just never know. Especially all the different parts of our country. I mean, I've seen snowstorms in June and I've seen them in September. Generally, July and August, I've not seen snow. Not to say it couldn't happen, but definitely carry winter clothes, gloves. I always carried two types of gloves. I carried the heavy duty leather work gloves, and then I also carried warm winter gloves, and that should protect your hands in whatever situation you find yourself in. Just a note about footwear. Again, I usually, if things were nice outside, I would just wear tennis shoes. In the wintertime, I would wear a heavier winter boot. Usually went with something that was waterproof. One winter, I was running up to Canada, and so I would carry insulated boots because it got pretty cold up there. So I would recommend knowing where you run and what you need to carry for the areas that you run. The other thing is a first aid kit. I always had a first aid kit with some gauze, some band-aids, some antiseptic, just different things because, we're outside working, you're doing different things. The chances of getting a cut or burn or something like that, it can happen. So it was helpful to me to have that stuff in my truck when I was running. So I hope this has been helpful. This is by no means an all-inclusive list of things you should bring, but I think it's a good start. If you take these things that we talked about, it'll help you a long ways towards being comfortable and safe on the road. Thanks.